يقول راجي عفو رب سامعي محمد بن الجزري الشافعي: الحمد لله وصلى الله على نبيه ومصطفاه محمد وآله وصحبه ومقرئ القرآن مع محبه. وبعد إن هذه مقدمة فيما على قارئه أن يعلمه، إذ واجب عليهم محتم قبل الشروع أولا أن يعلموا مخارج الحروف والصفات ليلفظوا بأفصاح اللغات، محرر التجويد والمواقف وما الذي رسم في المصاحف.
صلاة والتسليم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. You guys can see clearly. Come this direction. You can see clearly. Okay. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما وعملا متقبلا يا أرحم الراحمين. Oh Allah, teach us what benefit us, increase us in knowledge and good morals and good deeds يا أرحم الراحمين. So we are in the second section of Aljazariyya, which is Babu Makharij al-Huruf. I wanted to move you and him. Don't worry, the wall will not fall, believe me. Don't lean, don't. Aywa, so that I can see you. No, Mash, that's fine, you can lean some. Okay, so Babu Makharij al-Huruf, the section on the Makharij of the Huruf. Makharij of the Huruf means what? The points of articulation. Literally, Makharij means what? Exits, right? Literally, it means exits. But the letters, why we don't say exits? Because the letters practically do not exit right from there. Because the letters are not something tangible, right? You cannot touch the letter, right? Yeah, Sheikh? You cannot touch the letter. But it's produced at those points. This is why the best translation is really points of articulation or places of articulation. Places of articulation or points of articulation. So the word makharij is, we're using it just with some tolerance in the language. You understand? Like we're just tolerating this, the use of this word is like figurative, because the letter does not like come out of the tongue, right? It does not come out of the lips. No, it's produced at the lips. Clear? Mash. This is something that we will understand today, inshallah, in details. So since we covered the first line, which is line number 9, مخارج الحروف 17 على الذي يختاره من اختبر. Makharij of the letters are 17 according to the opinion that is chosen by those who have experience in this field. Okay. Then he said للجوف ألف وأختها وهي حروف مد للهواء تنتهي. Before we go to al-jawf, which is the first makhraj of the letters, we're gonna have some very important introductions. Very important introductions. It is basic introduction, but some of us might be unaware of it. And why this is very important, so that you understand how we produce those letters. And so that you understand when you want to help the kids, especially all of you almost are teachers in the Sunday school, so you have to understand how the letter is, how the sound is produced, so that you can help the kid who's reading to you. You can help them to correct their mistakes. So this is one of the most important classes in all of Aljazariyya series. How many classes we had in Aljazariyya? Almost 100 classes in the previous course. 100 classes. Among 100 classes of Aljazariyya, this is one of the most important things, so give me your attention. Since in the recitation of the Quran we're dealing with sound, so we have to understand what sound is, right? Are we dealing with sounds or with pictures or with letters that are written when we recite the Quran? When we want to correct our recitation, what are we dealing with? Huh? Sounds or pictures? We're dealing with sounds, right? We're not concerned how this letter is written, but we're concerned how it sounds, right? This is why we have to understand what sounds are, right? Who can give me a definition of the sounds? Who knows what sounds are? Who knows? Anyone have an idea about the definition of sounds? Huh? I showed you the first word of the definition. How is sound produced, or what is sound? We have air around us, right? We have air. We have air in our lungs. We have air around. Sound happens when vibration take place in these layers of the air. When this vibration takes place, or these sound waves happen, then it reaches the ear, then we can hear sounds. That's sound. That's what sound is. Okay? So, sound is vibration. We're talking about the human sounds, of course, right? The human sounds. Also, the sound that animals hear, also the same definition. But now we're talking about the human sound, and this is why we're going to talk about the human hearing and the range of the human ear. Sounds are vibrations that travel. Vibrations in what? What is the thing that will vibrate in order that we have a sound? What is it? Huh? It depends on the medium that will transfer the sound waves. Could be the water, could be the air. If you're under the water, sometimes you go under the water and you're diving. You're swimming under the water. Don't you hear some sounds? How did you hear those sounds? The sound waves moved through what? Through water, right? So this vibration will take place, since now we're not reading under the water, right? It will take place where? In the air, right? So the air will vibrate. The air atoms, if you like, they will vibrate, they will shake, they will form what? Sound waves. And these sound waves will move and will travel through this air or another medium, right? The air or another medium, like water, if you're underwater, right? Then it should be in a range that can be heard by the human ear. So this is the definition of sounds. I'm going to ask you about this, okay? Vibrations that travel through the air or another medium and can be heard when they reach a person's ear. Can be heard. This is very important, because we cannot hear every sound and every vibration that takes place around us. What, is there a limit? Yes, we're limited. In everything we're limited. We're limited in a place, limited in time, limited in hearing, limited in sight, limited in smelling, right? Dogs are better than us in smelling, right or no? Right or no? Don't think like you're a human being. Dogs here smell better than me and better than you, right? Right?
Yeah.
This is why we use them to help us find murderers or find like many things, right? Subhanallah. So we should not like be arrogant as humans. There are some animals who have some better qualities than us, right? But Allah honored us with the mind, honored us with the capability of knowing Him, subhanahu wa ta'ala, honored us to be the leaders of this universe, right? So, the commonly stated range of the human hearing is, who can read this? Who can read this? 20 hertz, right? Per second. From 20 hertz per second to 20,000 hertz per second. That's the range of our hearing. 20 hertz means 20 vibrations per second. 20 vibrations per second. Less than 20 vibrations, you cannot hear it. More than 20,000 vibrations per second, you cannot hear it. So that's our limitation in regard with hearing. Of course, animals differ from us. Just like smelling, just like sight. You know the eagle, right? Their sight also much greater than our sight. Imagine they're a very high distance, and they can see their prey, right? And they, how they can see it, subhanAllah. They have special sight. So that's the human ear. And this is, wallahi, if you think about it, guys, one of the great bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon us. How many vibrations we have around us. We have so many vibrations in nature around us. Here, now there are many insects under these carpets. Everywhere, in your house, in the street, in the air, everywhere. In the atoms of these substances, everything. There are atoms or no? Yeah. There are vibrations. Are there not atoms there and they're revolving and, right? You studied this in chemistry or whatever, right? Electrons, neutrons, protons, whatever, nones. Out of Allah's mercy upon us is that we have limited hearing range. Come, last two sisters, come here so that you can see. Yeah, no, come here so that you can see both. So, human hearing is limited, and that's part of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy. That's better, right? That's better, right? Huh? Isn't it better? Imagine you can hear everything. Imagine what will happen. Who can tell me? What will happen? If you can hear everything, you cannot live. You cannot do anything. Now we're talking, you'll hear all of those sounds. I don't know how it will sound. And look, by the way, also tasbih. وَإِن مِّن شَيْءٍ إِلَّا يُسَبِّحُ بِحَمْدِهِ وَلَكِنْ لَا تَفْقَهُونَ تَسْبِيحَهُمْ. Everything is glorifying Allah also. But you cannot hear and you cannot understand their glorification. Imagine if we hear everything, you cannot do anything. You cannot live, you cannot sleep. So that's of Allah's mercy that He made our hearing limited, right? And I quoted for you one quick hadith in this regard so that you appreciate Allah's favors upon you. Hadith in Sahih Bukhari, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, when the coffin will be put, or the janazah, the funeral will be put, and the men will carry it on their shoulders. If it is righteous, means if it is for a righteous person, it will say, bring me forward, qaddimuni, let me go forward, bring me. So why? Because the person is happy. He or she, they know that they will get the reward in the grave, right? وَإِن كَانَتْ غَيْرَ ذَلِكَ. But if it is other than that, everyone knows, right? بَلِ الْإِنسَانُ عَلَى نَفْسِهِ بَصِيرًا. Everyone knows himself. So if this person knows that he or she was not good, they will say, Ya waylah, woe to me, ayna tadhhabuna bi, where are you taking me? Where are you taking me? So as if someone taking them to hang him up, right? Or to the death penalty. How he will be wailing, right? Or shouting. He said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, يَسْمَعُ صَوْتَهَا كُلُّ شَيْءٍ إِلَّا الثَّقَلَيْنِ. Everything in the universe will hear the voice of that person except for the ثقلين. Who's ثقلين? سَنَفْرُغُ لَكُمْ أَيُّهَا الثَّقَلَانِ. Who's ثقلين? Ins and jinn. Why ثقلان? Because they're heavy. They made the earth heavy by their presence. Some of the interpretations. So, إِلَّا الثَّقَلَيْنِ. Ins and jinn will not be able to hear this sound, this shouting. Listen now, listen. وَلَوْ سَمِعَ الْإِنسَانُ لَصَعِقٍ. If the human being will be able to hear those sounds, he will be shocked. He will be shocked. If our hearing range is bigger and we are able to hear the punishment of the people in their graves, we cannot live. We cannot live. So alhamdulillah. And we know Sayyidina Sulaiman, right? He heard what? What did he hear? The ants. قالت نملة يا أيها النمل, right? Right? فتبسم ضاحكا من قولها. He heard the ant. Was that natural or a miracle? Miracle. Also when Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, one time he was with Sayyidina Abu Bakr and Sayyidina Umar and Sayyidina Uthman, he had the pebbles in his hand, 7 or 9 pebbles, as in the authentic hadith in Musnad Bazzar. He had the pebbles. What happened? What happened? The Sahaba, they heard the tasbih of the pebbles. They heard the tasbih of the pebbles. Is that natural or a miracle? So Allah gave them, now changed the hearing range for them, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala changed their hearing range so that they were able to hear, right? The glorification. Then Rasulullah moved those pebbles, gave them to Sayyidina Abu Bakr. They continued. Sahaba continued to hear them. Sayyidina Umar, Sayyidina Uthman, then he gave him to someone else. He gave them to someone else. Then Sahaba could not hear. So that shows the merits of those great Sahaba radiyallahu anhum wa Allah. So now these vibrations that take place in the air, we're talking about sound in the air, right? Not under the water, for example. These vibrations, ya shabab, how do they take place? Right? We said the sound is what? Sound is vibrations. This is very important introduction to understand how we produce the letters. How these vibrations take place. Who can know? How these sounds are produced. If I make, what did I do? You hear the sound or no? I'm making vibrations in the air, atoms that are here in this area. What did I do? What did I do? Huh? So the first way is what? Connection between two things, right? As you can see, right? Connection between two things. So this is the range of the human ear, the human hearing, and here you see the first way of producing sounds, right? You can see, of course, connection between two things, right? Clapping your hands, right? So that's the first way. Now, when we move to learn about producing the letters in the human body or the human mouth, or when we talk about producing the human sound, that will be one of the main ways to produce letters, which is what? Connection between two things. The tongue, the front part of the tongue touching the gum, that will be produced this letter. The upper lip touching the lower lip, that will be producing ba, for example. See? That is the first way. Second way is what? Who knows? Second way is the opposite. What's the opposite? There's something that is connected. Okay? Anyone has a pen that he doesn't want, so I break it. Okay. So, second way is what? You have something, you have this piece of wood, you broke it. You have a piece of paper, you tore it, right? So what is that? Disconnecting two things that are connected. Disconnecting them, that's another way of producing sounds, right? As you can see in the picture, right? Obviously, there's something very intuitive, right? Now, third way. Anyone can give us or think of another way to produce sounds in nature? I forgot the ruler. If we have a ruler here and you tap and shake the side of the ruler, what will happen? Bzzz, right? It will make that sound, right? What happened there? We did not connect anything with anything, and we did not disconnect. What did we do? Look what we do. Look what we do. So what is this? Who can tell me? What do you call this? Vibration of a thing. This thing is vibrating, right? Shaking of something. Just shaking of something, right? Shaking of this thing, right? Also makes sounds, right? This, if you shake this juice, it will not be drunk anymore. If you just shake or vibrate something, same thing. So that is way number 3 of producing sounds in nature. Finally, number 4, if I make this, Did I connect two things together? No, they're already connected. Did I disconnect them? No. Did I shake it? No. What did I do? I made what? What do you call this action? Huh?
Friction.
Friction, right? Friction of something with another thing, right? Or friction between two things, right? Just like when you saw a piece of wood, right? So that is the fourth way of producing sounds in nature. Now, of course, we have to move to the human sound. Now we're talking about nature, and of course that will apply to the human sound as well. So let's come to the human sound. The sound, or the letter, to be more precise, the letter in the language is what? Is a sound that depends on this is, you have to know this. A sound, those like how sounds are produced, this is like for kindergartners, right? I know. But this you have to know. This is something kindergartners will not know. The letter is a sound that is based on a makhraj, that is muhaqqaq or muqaddam. This is very important to know as Tajweed student, as Tajweed teacher, as Ijaza candidate. So what's the definition of the letter? When I tell you definition, you have to give me the definition. As the scholars give definitions, you don't just make up a definition from your mind, right? You have to give the definition as it is defined by the scholars. When I tell you what's the definition of tawatur, you have to mention the definition that you learned, that the scholars mentioned, not you make up. You don't have to use the exact similar words, but you have to give those similar meanings of a definition of a certain things. You cannot tell me, as some of you in the test, Tajweed test again, what is Tajweed? Tajweed to read the Quran like the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yes, ya akhi, we understand, this is just to tell people, to make it simple. But technical term, Tajweed in the technical terminology, what does it mean? It is a science in which you know the letters in regard with their makharij and their permanent and accidental sifat that are related, and the Tajweed rules that are related to that. That is the definition of Tajweed that I told you to learn, right? So you have to, this is how you have to define Tajweed. Okay? A letter, what's the definition of a letter? Al-harf is a sound that depends on maqta'. Maqta'. Maqta' means, literally here means a place, let's say. Or makhraj. Why we said place? Because makhraj means what? In the beginning, what did we say? Makhraj means what? The place of articulation, right? So, last time I say, al-harfu huwa is a sound, the letter is a sound that depends on a place or a makhraj that is muhaqqaq or muqaddar. What does that mean? Let's take the first one, which is muhaqqaq. Makhraj muhaqqaq means, I'm going to tell you and you have to tell me, to give me the English word for it. Who can guess, by looking at this picture and seeing how the air is going, who can tell me what letter is this? What letter is this? Look, no air is coming out. The front part of the tongue touching what? Touching what? The gum, right? What letter is that? Huh? Say it. Ab, no, not ab. An. Maybe an. Huh? Maybe an. Ad. Maybe ad.
At.
So that's dal, for example. Could be dal, could be ta, could be ta. Could it be ta? Why couldn't it be ta? Of course, if you're taking this course for the first time in your life, you will not know. But since we learned this before, you must know that since the back part of the tongue here is not raised and the tongue is not curved, so this cannot be a heavy letter, right? This can never be a heavy letter. So it must be either dal, for example, or ta, right? Or noon, even though the noon a little bit different. So that is the dal, for example. So that is makhraj. That is a letter that has makhraj muhaqqaq. What does that mean? It's tangible. It's tangible, right? It's touchable. It's specific, specified, right? We're touching this area by this thing. It's a touch, tangible area. That's makhraj, what? Muhaqqaq. Got it? Now, who can give me, based on this definition of the makhraj muqaddar? Huh? Say it, don't be afraid. If you say is this makhraj muhaqqaq or muqaddar? Is it tangible? You can touch it, you can specify where, what touched what? What touched what? When you say anything touch anything? No. Then how is this produced? That's what we're gonna explain when we say للجوف ألف وأختاها وهي حروف مد. But now, is this makhraj muhaqqaq or muqaddar?
محقق.
Huh? Is it tangible?
No.
It's muqaddar. It's makhraj muqaddar. Why? It's not identified, it's not specified, it's not tangible, right? The sound or the air is flowing in this vocal tract. It's not stopped by anything. There's no two things that are touching, right? And that's another way of producing sounds that we did not mention. So, just when you say, look at me, when you say, ooh, nothing touch anything, right? That's just the flow of the air, right? The flow of the air with a certain shape for your hands, it made that sound. Nothing touched anything. Nothing was disconnected, nothing shaked. Only, of course, the air atoms. Now, so let's look at the makhraj al-muqaddar here on the other picture. That's makhraj muqaddar. Look how the air is flowing. You can see how the air is flowing. See how the arrows represent the air. You can specify where the makhraj is. Who can? You cannot. This is why it's called makhraj what? Muqaddar. Means like estimated or supposed makhraj. Or untangible. We can say untangible, right? Who can give me other words? Unspecific. Untangible. Okay? This is makhraj. Makhraj muqaddar. Not almost, all of the Arabic letters, they have makhraj muhaqqaq except for
ألف.
halq, except for
همزة.
except for the mad letters, right? The mad letters, as we will see today, inshallah. Okay, any questions so far before we move on? Any question here? Any question about anything so far? Okay. Okay, so we talked about makhraj muhaqqaq and makhraj muqaddar. This is a very important thing you have to know. Okay, it's very simple. Makhraj muhaqqaq, you can identify it, it's a specific, you can touch it, it's a tangible, right? It's tangible, unlike the makhraj muqaddar. So now, how do we produce the human voice? So we mentioned, just like in nature, the human voice or sounds are produced by what? Either connection between two organs of speech, the tongue and the roof of the mouth, for example, right? The edge of the tongue with the opposite side of the gum, for example. The upper teeth, okay, with the lower lip, for example, F, right? So connection, first way. Second way, if I say, look at me, if I say ba, what happened? ba. What happened? How did I produce ba? Ba. Disconnection. The lips were closed. I disconnected them. Ba. Right? Ta. Ta. Disconnection. And now, as you noticed, if you say ab, what did I do? Connecting. But that made a sakin letter. Ba, that made a mutaharrik letter. A letter with haraka. But still these two different sounds. So either connection or disconnection. These are two ways. Who can tell me another way? When I say nah, the ha sound, how is it produced? The vocal cords, they're vibrating. The air goes through them and they vibrate. So vibration of the vocal cords. Come here next to Yusra so that you can see. Vibration of the vocal cords. Okay. That is a third way. That is a third way. If we say the mad letters, also there is vibration in the vocal cords, but it is less than the ha. When you say as I'm gonna show you in the video, when you say the vocal cords are vibrating, but they're far from each other. But in the ha, they're very close. This is why you have this sound, because they're close and they're vibrating. So the human, now the whole process very quickly so that we understand, the human voice produces sounds in the following manner. So first we have, where does the air come from? The air that makes these sounds, where does it come from? Not from your stomach, obviously. Where does it come from? From the lungs, right? So this air comes from the lungs. So this air pressure from the lungs creates what? A steady flow of air through the trachea, right? Trachea, which is the windpipe, right? The windpipe, right? Not the food pipe. The windpipe, of course. Then what? To the larynx or what? The voice box. The larynx or the voice box. What do we have in the larynx or the voice box? In the voice box, what do you have? The major two things that help produce sounds. The vocal cords or the vocal folds, they call them, right? Then we have the pharynx, which is the back of the throat. The back of the throat. Then, as we mentioned in the larynx, we have what? The vocal folds or the vocal cords, right? What happens when the air comes? When the air comes from the lungs, it will go through the windpipe to the larynx. The larynx has those vocal cords, and the air goes through them. What will happen? They will shake, right? They will shake. By shaking, they will create this fluctuations, vibration, fluctuation in the air pressure. And this is what the sound waves are, right? Then we have, they call it resonances in the vocal tract. These waves, these sound waves, they make these sounds, these vibrations, they will sound as sounds in the vocal tract, okay? And they will modify these waves according to the position and the shape of the lips or the jaw or the tongue or the soft palate and other organs of speech. So when this air is coming out, they will the vocal cords will vibrate, they will go through. Then the shape of the lips, of the tongue, of the jaw, all of these things, their shape will determine the sound, how will that letter sound, right? This is why it's very important to understand, that, for example, when you have the alif, you should not round your lips. Why? Because if you round them, that will make a different sound, right? When you are making the ra sound, if you say, this is, now we started the practical part, how to help your kids improve their reading. So when they're reading to you, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, what is this sound? This is called wa sound. Do you know? Did you hear about this sound? Many Muslims, they have this sound, but it's not in Arabic. This is, I call it the ra wow sound, right? Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. MashaAllah, creative people. Ra and wa together, right? Why? Because you use the lip, so you produced a different sound. But the ra in Arabic doesn't need the lips to move with it, right? Just the tongue. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, right? Same thing, sad. Ihdina as-sirata ihdina What is the sound? See? So the shape of the lips or the tongue or any organs of speech will determine the letter and give that letter its distinctive sound. Of course, then the mouth or the nose openings will radiate the sound waves into the environment, means to the outside of the mouth. Is this clear, guys? It's very clear, very simple, right? Very clear, very simple. Any movement in the tongue, in the lips, in the jaw, that will form the sound, and that will make sounds different from each other. We have two types of makharij. We said makhraj muqaddar, supposed or intangible, like the jawf, because the letters of jawf do not come from a specific point, and the other type of makharij is muhaqqaq, or tangible, like the far throat, where the letters come from a specific points. Yalla, let's come to the letters in the human, or the human sounds. So the first way is, we're going to talk about the second letter. How do we produce the second letter? I already told you. Ab, at, an, as, as. How do we produce all of those second letters? What are we doing? Connecting two organs of speech together. That's how the second letter is produced. Now, how do you produce the mutaharrik letter? Just do the opposite. Just do the opposite. If you just do the opposite, will you say, for example, if I say ab, right? If I say ab, I just connected the two lips, right? I just connected the two lips. Well, if I say ba, I made ba with fatha. Disconnecting the organs of speech along with something else that will determine the mutaharrik letter. Along with something else. For example, if I disconnect the lips and keep my mouth open and keep the tongue normal, what haraka will that be? First of all, look here, look at we don't need to look at that. The second letter is understood. But let's look at the mutaharrik letter. The mutaharrik letter, as you can see here, for example, the meme. How do you produce the meme? The lips are closed, you just open them, right? Ma. But well, that is one mutaharrik letter. What about mu? How do you produce mu? We also disconnect, but what do we do with that? Mu. What do we do with that? We round the lips to get the dhamma. Mi. How do you do the mi? Who can tell me what is this ma? Look at the video. Is this ma or mi or mu? Is this ma or mi or mu? Why me?
The jaw's lowered.
No. This is why I asked you. In the kasra, the middle part of the tongue will be raised. So what is this?
Ma.
Ma. This cannot be mi or mu. This is ma. You understand why? So here is the question. This is a tricky question I'm going to ask you, inshallah. When I tell you I'm going to ask you, khalas, you will find it there. So don't say, oh, Allah, I searched the whole slide. I did not find it in the notes. Then when I make you hear the video, you will see it, right? You will hear it, right? As happened with one of you, for example. The mutaharrik letter is produced by disconnection between the two organs of speech, along with what? Who can tell me? Along with what? The one who knows, I should give him a prize, or her. Along with what? Huh? Raise your voice. The flow of air. Along with what?
Can you repeat it?
What will determine that this is fatha or dhamma or kasra?
The lips, the tongue.
Huh?
The lips, the tongue.
So how do you phrase that? Huh? With the makhraj. So you're gonna disconnect the organs of speech along with what? With the makhraj of the origin of the haraka of that letter. That's how you produce a mutaharrik letter. Mutaharrik means what, ya shabab? Mutaharrik means what? Has haraka. Mutaharrik means what?
Has harf.
Sakin means what? Has sukoon. Mutaharrik means what?
Has harf.
Mutaharrik means what? Ibrahim. Mutaharrik means what?
He just
Has haraka. Sakin means what? Has sukoon. Right? Exchange, you and him. Exchange. Change your places, you and him. Quickly. Yeah, I'm gonna say it. So mutaharrik has what? Haraka. How do you produce a mutaharrik letter? By disconnecting the two organs of speech along with the origin, the makhraj of the origin of that haraka. The makhraj of the origin of that haraka. Well, what's the origin of the fatha? Origin of fatha, alif. Origin of dhamma, wow. Origin of kasra, ya. So if I want to produce meme with fatha, I disconnect the lips along with the makhraj of the alif. How? Keeping the tongue flat and the lips normal. That's the alif. As we will see now, inshallah, in the med letters. Another example, how do I produce meme with dhamma? How? Before rounding lips. Disconnecting the two lips along with
rounding.
rounding the lips. There's something else. If no. If it's curved, look what will happen. If it's curved, it will be more. That's the tongue curve. More. The back part of the tongue is raised but without being curved. If it is curved, that will make it heavy. That will make it more. But it is moo, like this, moo. You understand? Moo. So the wow is by rounding the lips, and just the back part is raised without curving the tongue. Okay? Moo. Now, how do you produce meme with kasra? Meme with kasra. Disconnecting the lips along with, this is what we said, sister, along with the makhraj of the origin of that haraka. Meme with kasra means the makhraj of the origin of kasra, which is what? Ya. So meme with ya, meme with the makhraj of the ya. So we disconnect the lips along with what?
Raising the middle.
Makhraj of the ya, which is what?
Raising the middle.
The middle part of the tongue. And you lower the jaw a little bit. You lower the jaw a little bit. This is natural lowering. So you say me. Look here. This is very precise. This is how you can fix many mistakes of the kids, and your own mistakes also. Some students, they say, look, this is one of the kids, and one of the students reads, Bismillahir Rahmani ma. What is the mistake here?
He's not raising the middle part of his tongue.
He's raising the middle part of the tongue a little bit, so that's not making the alif straight. It should be ma. So when you raise the middle part of the tongue a little bit, it starts becoming tilted alif. Me, then it became ya. And that's alif mumala, right? We're going to talk about it. We talked about it before. So in the ya, we raise the middle part of the tongue and the jaw, it's lowered slightly. Look at me. Tell me the difference between, you can see me clearly? Tell me the difference between ma, mi, ma, mi. What's the difference? In the jaw. In the tongue, of course, ma, tongue is like this. Mi, tongue is like this, right? Right? In the mi, tongue is like this, middle part is raised. Ma is like this. But in the jaw, what's the difference? You tell me. Ma, mi, mi.
When you say man, the jaw goes down, but it comes
More, right? Right? What's the difference? In the fatha, the jaw goes more down. But in the kasra, less. Did you notice? One more time, You tell me if it's not right. Ma, mi, sa, si, ta, ti, ra, ri. Right? So some of the kids, when they read this way, they say rahman, ma. What do you tell them? Tell them, open your tongue right. Open your mouth. And make your tongue what? Flat. So don't say ma, right? Many of the kids, when they read, they keep their tongue like their lips closed and Rahman, Rahim. So first practice do for them, guys, Sunday school teachers. First practice do for them, let them open their mouth, let them shout. Let them say ah, ooh, ee, like this. Give them this practice. You understand? Laugh. Ah, ooh, ee, okay? Let them do this, okay? You have little ones, right? You, where's you, right? Let them do, especially the kids who don't speak loud. If they don't keep reading like this, Rahman, Rahim, Maliki, Yawmiddin, the letters will not come right. So let them do lips practice. Let them do this. Whenever they come to you, let them start with this lips exercise, okay? Let them make these exercises for their lips, for their, like this, make like this, open, say okay? Tell them to open their mouth, tell them to speak loud, etc. Okay, let's go back here. So how do you produce the makhraj mutaharrik? The letter that has haraka, disconnecting the organs of speech along with, tell me, along with what? The makhraj of the origin of the haraka. Exactly. The makhraj of the origin of the haraka. Is this clear? Okay. Barakallahu fikum. Now we're gonna move. So al-harf al-sakin. Sakin means consonants or vowel? Consonants. So look, this is some English references. Look, does that agree with what we mentioned? Who can read for me aloud? Or let me read quickly. The place of articulation of a consonant means sakin, right? Look, how is it reduced? Or what is it? Look, is the point of contact, Is not this what we're mentioning? Sakin is by what? By what? Connection. The point of contact where an obstruction means obstacle for the sound, right? Obstruction occurs in the vocal tract between what? An active articulator. An active articulator means what? Like what? What is an active articulator in your mouth? What's the active articulator in your mouth? The tongue. Could be the lower lip, by the way. When you say F, could be the lower lip or the lower jaw. But generally the tongue. When this active articulator, typically some part of the tongue, and a passive location, typically some part of the roof. Passive. Why passive? Why passive? Because it doesn't move, right? This is what we said. Alhamdulillah, I predicted. Put your hands down. So passive Location means what? It doesn't move. So what moves? The tongue or the gum? Which one moves? So the one that is moving is called what? Active articulator. The one that is still is called what? Passive location. So this is how the consonant takes place. This is like detailed, right? When an active articulator, typically part of the tongue, touches, okay, touches what? A passive location, so typically part of the roof of the mouth, along with the manner of articulation. This is very precise. What is the manner of articulation? I gave you the word for it. What is it? Means what? We mentioned it last time. Makharij is the place of articulation. And sifat, the attributes of the letters are the manners of articulation. So look what they said. This connection along with the manner of articulation and the phonation, that gives the consonant its distinctive sound. This is very nice and very precise. Very nice and very precise. Because look, if I make connection between the tip of the front part of the tongue and the gum, look, at, up, what's different? At, up, I'm connecting the same part of the tongue with the same part of the gum. But what's the difference? The manner of this articulation. The manner of this articulation means the sifa of this letter. In the ta, I'm making the tongue curved, so that made it heavy. In the ta, it's flat. It's not curved. It's not flat, it's just touching from the front, and then the other part is normal. This is why it's light. So that manner of articulation gave the ta its specific and distinguished sound from the ta. Also the phonation. What is the phonation? The phonation is also, we consider it part of the sifat, because it's hams and jahr. The phonation, look what they said. Rapid, periodic opening and closing of the glottis, the vocal cords, right? Through separation and opposition of the vocal cords, that's accompanied by breath under lung pressure, constitutes a source of vocal sound. So phonation basically is hams and jahr. So that's part of the manner of articulation in Tajweed, we consider it, or in the Arabic language in general. Okay, so we talked about the sakin letters, we talked about the mutaharrik letters, but there's an exception. What's the exception? There are letters that are not produced by connection, nor by disconnection. What are they? What are they? The mad letters. How are they produced? How are they produced? The mad letters. Vibration of the vocal cords, along with some specifications that we're gonna mention now, inshallah. Another example, the ha. The ha is not produced by connection nor disconnection. It's produced by what? Ha, nah. Vibration of the vocal cords, and they are close to each other. Now we come to the details now. Now we're going to apply all those definitions, all that understanding to the letters in the Arabic language. How many makharij, how many places of articulations or points of articulations do we have? The major ones are 4. Who can count them? The major ones are 4. Who can tell me? Jawf. Jawf is what? Throat cavity and oral cavity. Right, Ibrahim? Throat cavity and oral cavity. That is what? Al-jawf. Second, halq, the throat. Of course, every one of these, or many of these, they have detailed parts. We're going to mention them as we mention their letters. 3, we have the mouth. Al-fam, the mouth. What does al-fam include? Tongue, lips, teeth. The 4th major part, which is a passive part of speech. Passive organ of speech. What is it? The roof of the mouth. They call it, listen in Arabic, learn it, write it, al-hanak al-a'la. Al-hanak al-a'la. The upper hanak means the roof of the mouth. Finally, the 4th makhraj is what? The nasal cavity. Who can repeat them quickly? First one, jawf. Second, halq. Third, mouth. Fourth, nasal cavity, which is in Arabic what? الخيشوم. للشفتين الواو باء ميم وغنة مخرجها الخيشوم. So 4 major makharij of the Arabic letters. In details, look in the details. The throat and oral cavities, that is jawf, right? That's makhraj for how many letters? For A, U, E. So we should have how many makharij Imam Ibn al-Jazari said? Makharij al-hurufi 17, right? Let's see. Throat and oral cavities, that's one makhraj. That's one makhraj. They have, the jawf is one makhraj. The throat, how many makharij or sub-makharij do we have in the throat?
3.
أقصى الحلق, وسط الحلق, أدنى الحلق. How many? 3. So that's 4. The tongue, in the tongue we have 10 makharij. 10 makharij. We have the front part of the tongue, the middle part of the tongue, the back part of the tongue, the edges of the tongue, the far edges, the near edges. We're going to explain all of them in details. We have 10 sub-makharij in the tongue itself. This is why when they want to speak about a language, they say tongue. What's your mother?
Tongue.
Tongue. Because the tongue is the main part, subhanallah. أَلَمْ نَجْعَلْ لَهُ عَيْنَيْنِ وَلِسَانًا وَشَفَتَيْنِ. Did not we provide you with a tongue and 2 lips? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reminding you, right? May Allah make us of those who use their tongues in the way that pleases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The lips, we have 2 makharij in the lips. Anyone knows the 2 makharij in the lips? للشفتين الواو باء ميم أو أب أم. That's one makhraj. Who knows the other makhraj of the lips? F. The lip with the teeth. That's considered another makhraj. So we have in the lips 2, and the nasal cavity is 1. So how many are these? 10, 3, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 makharij, as we will see them inshallah in details. This is not very clear picture here. You can see it. Let's start from the lips very quickly. So in the lips we said what do we have? Waw, ba, mim and fa, right? You see them? Waw, ba, mim, fa. In the nasal cavity we have the noon and the mim along with the lips, of course, and along with the tongue. But we have the stressed mim and stressed noon basically. They come basically from the nasal cavity along with, of course, the movement of the tongue and the lips. So the nasal cavity basically, okay, it is by itself, there is no letter that comes from it. But we have the nasal sound, just the ghunna. But the ghunna doesn't come separate from anything, right? It comes with the noon or the mim or those letters, the idgham letters with ghunna. Here in the tongue, look, let's take the letters of the tongue. Here we have in the beginning, sin, sad, zai. Then we have ta, ta, dal. Okay? Then we have lam and noon and ra. Then we have in the middle jim, shin, ya. Then we have at the far edge dad. Then we have at the back kaf and qaf. Here on the front we have the tha, dal and dha. That's tongue and the teeth, right? A, U, E, this is al-jawf. At the end, this is al-halq. Ghayn, kha, ayn, ha, hamza, ha. This is a rough or the general makharij. These are the 4 makharij. We already mentioned them, right? The red color, quickly tell me, red and green color, what is that? Red and green together. Loud, red and green. Jawf. The red, the blue, I said red and green?
Yeah.
Come on. Blue and green. The blue and green. Jawf. The blue itself. Halq. This red one. Tongue, right? This nasal cavity, khayshum. Now this is al-hanak al-a'la, which, who knows what are the 2 parts that constitute al-hanak al-a'la? Excellent. Soft palate and hard palate. Lips, teeth, tongue. Okay. Some of these organs of speech have some parts that will be explained in details as we talk about the letters that are articulated in those places. When I learned Tajweed from one of my sheikhs, may Allah reward him, he passed away, Sheikh Fayyad Al-Hammoud, may Allah reward him. I used to attend the sheikh's lecture after Fajr for almost 1 hour. And after that, I will go, that was every Friday, then I will go to the Sheikh. He used to work as a receptionist in the foundation where I graduated from. And when he's in his work, I will sit and I will be writing, and he's teaching me the Tajweed rules. This is how I learned the Tajweed rules from him, may Allah reward him. Then I went to his Sheikh. I read the whole Quran after Fajr, also with tafsir. Then I read to Sheikh Bakri, may Allah reward him and shower him with his mercy and blessings. So this Sheikh, the Tajweed teacher, he taught me all the Tajweed rules except for Makharij. So when we came to Makharij, he just told me this rule. If you want to know the makhraj of a letter, make it sakin and put hamza before it. And wherever the sound ends, that's the makhraj. That is what he taught me about makharij. That's only this rule. Why? Because we know the letters, right? So how do you identify and specify the makhraj of a certain letter? You put a sukoon on it, right? Means you pronounce it without a vowel, without a harakah. Or you put a shadda, ab, and shadda is easier, it makes it clearer. Ab, at. I'm going to ask you this question. How do you know the makhraj of a letter? You put a sukoon or shadda on that letter. Then you pronounce it with a hamza before it. Ab, at, it, is, if. See? The place in which the sound is cut, you remember we said maqta in the beginning, maqta or makhraj. Maqta because the sound is cut there. So the place in which the sound is cut is the makhraj of that letter. The place where the sound is cut is the makhraj of that letter. Look at me, when I say ab, where's the sound cut in this sound? The ba, ab. It's here, so the lips is the makhraj. When I say ad, where is the sound cut? At the gum, by using the front part of the tongue. So that's the makhraj of the dal. Is that clear? Aywa. So that's how you know the makhraj of a certain letter. Who can repeat? How do you know the makhraj of a certain letter?
You
make it sakin or mushaddad, then you put hamza before it, right? And wherever the sound is cut, that is the makhraj. That is the makhraj of the letter. Inshallah, next time we're going to start with the first major makhraj, which is what? Al-Jawf. Imam Ibn Aljazariyya rahimahullah says, لِلْجَوْفِ أَلِفٌ وَأُخْتَاهَا وَهِي حروف مد للهواء تنتهي. Now he's giving you the details. He's saying for the jawf we have alif and its two sisters. What are the two sisters of the alif? Waw and ya. Wahi and they are what? حروف مد. They are letters of mad. للهواء تنتهي. They should end in the air. And you're gonna see, inshallah, how with every letter, if you don't do the exact makhraj, you will have mistakes. And now these coming 10 classes are the most important in all of this course. Make sure you never miss any of them. Most of the common mistakes you make in your recitation and most Muslims make are because they don't know these points of articulation with all of their notes, with all of their specifications. So inshallah, make sure you attend those ones and you have your notes and prepare well, because once we finish it, we will have the test of the second section, inshallah. صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين. If you have any question, you can come to me. Alhamdulillah.